In Northland, farms are turning green and grass is starting to grow now there's been some reasonable rain. Farmers have been regrassing, but it's been slow kicking into gear because soil moisture levels were low. Dairy herds are being dried off and cull cows are off to the works. Pukekohe vegetable growers have been motivated by last season's higher prices and good weather. They've planted extensive areas of brassicas, lettuce and other green crops, and now there's an oversupply. Prices to growers have been very low on the whole.
In Waikato, the warm, wet April has pushed grass growth along nicely. Regrassed paddocks are growing really well. Bay of Plenty dairy farmers have nothing to complain about, with cows in good condition, grass coming along well and the OK payout. 80% of the gold kiwifruit harvest is now done and it'll be completed in the next 2 weeks. Most of the green kiwifruit's yet to be picked, but there are plenty of workers around for picking and packing. It's all tickety-boo, our contact said. Thursday was a cracker of a day in King Country after temperatures plunged last week. Lambs are off to the works. Normally, they're sold as store lambs to be fattened up elsewhere, but with such low prices, farmers have been trying to do that themselves. There's plenty of grass around. The ram's nearly done his job and is starting to hang out by the gate. Ewes were in good nick for mating.
Most of Taranaki's had a good autumn, but the southern coastal area from Opunaki around to Hayward has been very dry and drought was declared. It looks green, but there's been no rain and dairy herds have been dried off. Milk production figures for all parts of Taranaki are a few % down on last year, but last year was a cracker. Around Ruapehu and Turangi, a warm, wet summer means there's lots of grass. But halfway down the Parapara Road towards Whanganui and further south, it's very dry. Rain's only arrived in the past month. Paddocks have greened up, but there's no growth. Farmers are struggling to finish lambs, and even weaner calves are 20 to 25% lighter than last year. Banks are generally working hard to support cash-strapped sheep and beef farmers. The word is they'll help them for the next year, but after that, something needs to have changed. Some farmers who were thinking of planting trees this winter are holding off, waiting to see what direction the government takes with the ETS.
And again in Manawatu, it's a green drought. In fact, Tararua farmers were celebrating on Wednesday night because they had 15 millimetres of rain. They'd normally not even notice that amount. Lots of dairy herds have gone on to once-a-day milking. The dry is good for pasture utilisation, however, and crops are still firing. In Gisborne, the current soil moisture deficit has slowed growth, but there were good covers earlier on. After a long summer where farmers struggled to control parasites in sheep, the dry is relieving that problem. A sniff of better lamb returns in spring is giving farmers a tiny ray of hope. The citrus harvest is humming along in the fine weather. Feijoas and kiwifruit are all coming off with few interruptions too.
Hawke's Bay received half its normal rainfall last month. Growth was down about a third of normal levels for April, and it was similar in March. Finishing farmers aren't buying in stock yet because they don't have enough feed. There's still time for growth before winter, but it's tight. There are some ordinary-looking lambs around, but luckily breeding stock look okay. The farmer we spoke to in Wairarapa says the situation is desperate and he's fed up with hearing about all the redundancies in Wellington, given the pain in rural areas. He says there are 3 F's in farming at present. Feed and finance are 2 of them. He pointed to the terrible balance sheet of one young farmer he helps out. $120,000 of fertiliser isn't going on, which limits future growth and means there isn't the workaround for fertiliser, fencing and spraying contractors. They're all losing income.
Horo Whenua, which was declared a drought, is also now green. But that's it. There's been no growth, so farmers hope it stays warm for a while longer. The oversupply of maize grain has been a blessing because it's being cut for silage. It gives dairy farmers a cheaper feed and at least gives the maize growers a market. Ke te Waipanamu, across Cook Strait, and the tail end of the late apple varieties like Pink Lady and Envy are coming in the Tasman region. Feijoas are being picked. All the gold kiwifruit packing will be done by the end of next week, and the green kiwifruit harvest is snapping along too. There's only been one weather event all season to stop any horticulture harvesting, so people are happy.
Marlborough's looking better than a month ago. 120 millimetres of rain fell on our contacts farm 3 weeks ago, and there have been nice top-ups of 4 to 12 millimetres since. Soil moisture's still very low, but grass has turned green and there have been some frosts. Surprisingly, stock are doing well. Ewes went to the ram in good condition, and there have been good pregnancy scanning results in cows. Our contact said generally farmers heeded earlier warnings and weren't carrying too much stock over summer. Pruning is underway on grapevines. All the heavy rain a few weeks ago on the west coast didn't cause too many problems. Dairy cows are still milking fine and will be dried off soon. Things are just slowing down a little more quickly than last year.
Recent rain has brought relief to some parts of Canterbury, but on the whole it is too late. The north in particular remains very dry. The last of the prime lambs are leaving farms, and many are wondering about the future of the sheep industry given the extremely poor prices this year. Coupled with the dry conditions, it's safe to say many are not very upbeat. After a tough summer season, Otago farmers are hoping for grass growth this month. 70 millimetres of rain in April turned things around, but again, farmers have no money. Budgets are the worst in decades, according to our contact. A cattle sale in South Otago on Wednesday was a buyer's market. No one has money to buy stock. Southland received the rain that no one else got. Autumn's been very wet. It held up the harvesting of wheat, barley, oats, peas and beans, so it was a real community effort to finally get it all done last week. Cows are still being milked and lambs are heading to the works. The rams are about to go out or are out already.